can a person who loves heavy metal or rock, can they use that for worship? Can a person who is in Jamaica, who's used to reggae or ragga or whatever you want to call it, can they use that for worship? Can a person who is right there in the deep somewhere in the village of Congo or Zimbabwe, for instance, can they use
Sungura,
mbira or mbira or sungura and say,
and the cheat?
You know what I'm trying to say? And
cheat for Jesus.
Yeah. Welcome to In the Lounge with Pastor Sam.
In the lounge.
Yeah.
It's In the Lounge again. And today I'm so privileged. I'm excited that I have in the house Tembalami. Good to have you, man.
No, thanks so much for having me, Pastor Sam. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Wow. You know what? A lot of people know you as Tembalami. But
yes.
it seems like you don't even have a surname. do you know that? Most people don't even know your surname. So it's Tembalami who?
Tagwire.
I don't think I even knew that.
No, I have a special name.
Okay.
It holds a very special place in our country.
Okay.
Every time someone hears Tagwire, they think I have money. So
Yeah. I was about to ask you to say, are you related to these money guys?
I plead the fifth.
Okay. That's a good one. You started by pleading. I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot of pleading. Hey, it's good to have you, man.
No, it's good to be here.
Yeah. I'm really, really excited.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get to sit on this podcast with quite a number of guys and talk about, life issues and especially for us as Christians.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the things that really matter to us.
Definitely, yeah.
And there are things that I feel in the body of Christ. Some of the things are not really tackled, or maybe some questions are left unasked because at times we want to play safe.
Yeah, no, some of it is also church setup. There are some issues that are not don't fit into the pulpit format.
Okay.
And I think it's platforms like these where we can actually delve into them and actually talk about them.
You are absolutely right. And, so maybe before we get into business, there are people out there that probably don't really know you. I've known you for years.
Yes.
You've been, a great minister, and you've been on the music scene for a long time.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself and how your journey started as a gospel musician in the great nation of Zimbabwe.
Well, my journey is a bit long.
Okay. We've got time.
But I feel God was preparing me for a time like this because without knowing, I grew up with parents that lived kind of separately.
Okay.
But together.
Okay.
Because my family was very traditional in the Zimbabwean sense.
Okay.
Where your father works in town.
All right.
Your mom is in the village.
Okay,
we kind of lived a double life.
Mm-hmm.
I would be in Chitungwiza, which is our ghetto, during the school months, which is 3 months, and then I go to the village for a month, and I come back and I do 3 months. So I lived with my mom and dad in blocks, and I spent more time with my dad.
More than it was with your mom.
With my mom.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was with my mom until I was 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I started school, I then went to school.
Mm-hmm.
So then from then onwards, I'll just see my mom for 3 months in the year. And that was pretty much the way I grew up. But that prepared me because I now knew life in the village.
Okay.
I knew how to do anything in the village. On a farm, I could do anything.
Oh, wow.
And this is not a commercial farm with tractors and fancy things. We were the tractors.
With your pure hands.
Yes. Was cattle drawn carts and plows and all those things.
So you know how to suck the milk from the.
I know how to do all those things. Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of people think I'm fancy. So every time I go back to to my village, I usually do
the boy in you comes alive.
Yes, I go and grab a cow, like put a rope on it so that people can see, like, this dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
So and then I went to boarding school for my high school, which was a mission school. And the beauty of a mission school is they're super rich kids and they're super broke kids like me. So that's when I realized I was poor, because growing up in Chitungwiza,
everything was normal.
Yeah, everyone was the same. Would play soccer bare feet.
Exactly.
Everyone was doing it. And so it didn't seem like
strange.
There was something wrong. It was only when I went to
were exposed to
boarding school. That's when I realized, wow, there are people that have these cars and live this kind of life. Because to me, not eating pizza was normal.
Yeah. You didn't even know how to spell pizza.
I didn't care. It was only when we came to school, that's when I realized, this one brought a pizza, this one brought a what? I'm like, so this is what's happening. So it kind of opened my eyes to what's possible and opened my life to also a personal relationship with Christ, which I didn't have, because growing up in a Protestant church, I was Salvationist. Everything is together. When we are praying, one person prays, everyone agrees. So having that personal relationship was not something that was cultivated. They cultivate community more. So if you want a church that shows up for you when you get sick, those are the kind of churches. If you want a church that shows up at your funeral.
There's a funeral,
they actually take it very serious. If you don't show up at a person's funeral, they'll come to your house and talk to you.
And say, what's your problem?
We had a funeral. Pastor Sam's relatives died and you didn't come.
And you didn't even contribute.
Yes.
Wow.
So what's going on? Because when you have a funeral, we are not coming to your funeral.
Exactly. And they will live up to their word. They won't come.
Yeah, so they are very prepared for things like that. Like they have pots and things. When there is a funeral, they'll show up with their pots, make sure that everyone is fed. If it's a wedding, everyone is contributing. They are big on community. But also the biggest thing that I struggled with there was my personal relationship with Christ. And they were just taboo topics that I couldn't ask. Which kind of made me, because we never asked the why. Because the Salvationist is an army. When you join the Navy, you don't ask questions.
Exactly.
If we are saying we want you to fill 20 buckets of water, that's what we want to do. It's the army. So that's what we did. And I had questions about baptism, about things. So I was that one kid who just kept asking questions. Like you said, we should give $10. Everyone should give $10. Why? They're like, no, if we don't say that, then people won't give. I'm like, but is that right? So I kept asking until I got to a place where I realized, I think God is trying to tell me something. I'm just not listening.
You couldn't fit within that box anymore.
So that's when celebration came into the fray. Because I started church hopping. I was looking for a church where I could be home. And when I got to celebration, it was amazing.
Wow.
There was this band. Wow. And they were singing hill songs.
Very vibrant.
Yes. And that's when I heard songs like Trading My Sorrows.
Which became your hit song.
Yes. But when I got there, it was the freedom of expression, the way people express themselves before God. We did that at the Salvation Army, but in a different way. So I really, really wanted to find that place. And when I got there, I was so inspired. Not just that, but when I got there, Celebration was that church where celebrities went,
Mm-hmm.
but they were not celebrities when they were there.
Okay, all right.
Because
all right.
everyone was doing amazing. They were
Yeah.
like, I think Strive Masiwa was there.
Okay.
And
Nigel
he owned Nigel Chanakira was there, and he was owning a bank, and Jeff Muzwimbi was there. He was a bank owner. Henry Olonga was there. He was like
the musician and
cricketer. I think Britta Masaletulini was there when she was Miss Malaika, and it was just Nick Price, I think, world #1 golfer. There was just a bunch of big achievers,
loving people,
yes,
that are not title driven.
Yeah, and I didn't know them.
Oh wow!
And that was the funny thing. One day Nigel was doing Word. He came with his laptop, gave it to me, said, "Can you run PowerPoint?" I was like, "Yeah." He gave me his laptop, sat there, connected his laptop. I sit there, he comes and he sits with me. "So, how are you?" Well, and then he starts talking.
He's a very... I had the privilege to fly with them a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we were just talking.
Yeah.
And I was just complimenting him. "Oh, you're doing a great job." And he says, "Oh, Mfundi, can I have your number?" I was like, "You what?" And he's gracious
so cool
enough
like
to give me his card. He says, "Oh, there you go. You contact me." And we've been speaking ever since, and I'm really inspired with people like that.
So for me, I didn't know him. So we have like a 5-10 minute conversation because church hadn't started, and he came early. He's got this habit of being early when he's doing something. So me coming from Shtungwiza, I knew I had to come to church, and to walk from town to Milton Park to get to church. It was another whole long story, but speaking to him afterwards, it's when people came and asked me, "How do you know Nigel Chanakira?"
Like, who?
I was like, "Who?" The Nigel Chanakira,
what?
the owner of Kingdom Bank. I was like, "So that's him?"
Wow.
Yeah, because...
And he was just a normal individual.
He was just normal.
I love that.
So for me, it kind of showed me another side that you can be successful and still love God, and be a genuine person that you can just have a conversation with. And when I spoke to him, and I then later on asked him, "So where did you grow up?" Him and the wife started telling me about them struggling at one point, selling their house, going back to live in his mother's house in Highfields, and all these things. So I started looking at myself like, you know what, I'm from Shtungwiza, but if this guy can do it,
I can also
do something.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of changed my outlook in terms of what I can do and what's possible in life. And it has been such an amazing journey. So from Kumusha, the village, to the ghetto, to the suburbs, I now have a connection with everyone. So when I sing songs and when I speak to people, it's not difficult for me to connect with someone who's wealthy.
Because you've been there.
Or someone from a humble background.
Yeah. Wow. So, but tell me, have you always been singing gospel?
Oh, that's...
Did you see what he's trying to do?
Oh,
he's trying to tell us the juicy part. He's not telling us that.
No, it's a good part. Okay. It's actually a good part.
Okay.
So, between that journey to Shtungwiza, to celebration, there was time that I did secular music.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
And you were hot actually those days.
Yeah.
Young and hot.
Yeah, I was 19.
You were feeling yourself.
I was 19. I was 19 straight out of high school. I wrote a song.
Okay.
This little song went to be #1 on all the charts.
Wow.
Went across regionally.
Yeah.
The only problem is I was duped out of the song, and some people benefited financially from it.
Wow.
And it wasn't intentional for them, because we were all just young people, just trying to find our feet and trying to learn an industry that we had no clue was about. So it was a season for me of just finding myself. And it also gave me a perspective of what secular music looks like. And I always argue with people that have never been a secular artist. Because every Christian is naive, kind of. Yeah. They think because someone is a secular artist, they're out there sacrificing goats and pouring blood on themselves. Yeah.
Wow.
Yet they're just people who are just trying to pay bills.
Okay.
Their content, yes, is questionable.
Okay.
But they're just playing to what people are attracted to. People love controversy and things, and most of the time, secular artists thrive on things like singing something obscene to shock you so that they get your attention. Some of it might not be goat blood and all this evil sacrifices.
Some of it is just genuine,
people trying to make money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you what was that transition from coming from this secular singing artist to now going into gospel? Was that a struggle for you? Or did it come natural?
It wasn't really, because I didn't stop being a Christian because I was doing secular music.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You said you didn't stop being a Christian because you were doing secular music.
Yeah.
What is secular music?
Secular music.
Your own understanding.
Secular music just means you are doing anything that you like.
Okay.
There are no boundaries and set rules.
Okay.
Like if you look at me when I write a song, because I'm a Christian artist, my content is measured against the word. To say what this guy is saying, is it biblically sound?
Yeah.
If it's not, then it's not gospel music. But secular music, I can sing about a sofa. Just say, I like the sofa. My sofa's so comfortable. And it's a song.
Okay.
And no one cares because it's secular.
But the thing is, but how difficult do you think it is for Christians, quote unquote, to then accept you as, like, for instance, right now, you sing gospel music, yeah? And you say it's measured, within the parameters of the word.
Yes.
How difficult is it, do you think, for Christians to accept you if you then just choose to release a love song or, or a song about the sofa, like you're saying? Do you think you can still be acceptable, or people will start thinking, it's been dodgy?
It will be difficult for them, but I don't know what people think when I'm with my wife. What do I quote? Scripture, Proverbs.
or the kind of music, or probably you can be playing, there is none like
my
you.
goodness.
No one else can touch my heart.
So
like you.
I think everything has a place.
Okay.
And for me, I don't think it would be acceptable since I decided to say that this is what I'm doing now. But I don't think there's anything wrong for a secular artist to sing a song about Christ.
Okay.
Because Christ is not personalized, or I don't need to protect Christ from someone.
Do you think that people accept it when a secular artist? Then do you think they accept it more than they would do on a Christian artist singing a secular song than a secular artist singing a Christian song?
Yeah. I think it's difficult for a Christian artist to sing a secular song and people accept it, because the hard truth about secular music is, for everything that you do, whether gospel or secular, there's a price to pay.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit.
When you're a secular artist, you have to provoke people and keep reminding them that you're a secular artist. If you look at artists that break out as young musicians, like Justin Bieber or Miley Cyrus, you see those guys. They had to do crazy things for people to now look at them as grown-ups. So it's either they get a very big tattoo or they get caught or smoking weed or something. It has to be something that you do to sacrifice yourself so that people now look at you and say,
differently.
No, this woman is grown.
Okay.
So for Miley Cyrus, it was a season of her going on stage dressed funny and
Okay.
singing funny lyrics so that everyone looks at her and said, she's not a child anymore.
Okay.
And that's the price that you pay as a secular artist.
Oh.
That you have to move with the trends. If smoking weed is the trend, you have to sing a song about weed.
Okay.
So that you stay relevant.
All right.
If it's getting naked on stage,
try and be relevant.
you have to do that to stay relevant. There are few outliers in that industry that try and keep it to be about the music, but then they're not mainstream. Mainstream secular music puts a demand on you
Okay.
to either post vile things or say controversial things to stay relevant. So that's why I was saying there's a price to pay when you're a secular artist, and you have to be willing to pay it. For me, I wasn't willing to pay that price because it was against my beliefs.
All right.
Because I was always that secular artist guy in a bar at 2 a.m. who's not smoking or drinking because it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
So it became so annoying for me that there's a drunk guy in my face, speaking in my face, right? Like, you are so talented, you in my face at 2 a.m. It just didn't work for me.
Okay.
So my Christian beliefs were always in fighting with my
who you were in the inside.
Yes.
Was
always fighting with what I had to do. Because what sells in secular music is sex, drugs, and money. And I am not about that business.
So, which brings me to my next question. I know I've spoken about this with other people, but I want to hear your take. What is your take? This is just your opinion. What is your take on a Christian artist like you probably having a secular band playing for you? Do you think that can work? Or is it an issue of skill? Or is it an issue of, the spirit that they're operating with? Can darkness and light mix?
I think it's the biggest issue for us is our nuances when we define darkness and light.
Okay. Ooh, I like that.
that's where our problem starts.
Okay.
Because we assume that because this person plays in a bar, they are now darkness.
I think that's the part you were supposed to go.
So we have coined certain people evil because of the spaces that they work in.
Oh, come on, say that again.
Yet music is like a pen and a canvas, a paintbrush and a canvas.
All right.
So what you decide to do to paint is up to you. So if I get, you see this microphone we're using, this was made by a secular guy, but we are using it to push the gospel forward. All these cameras and everything that we're using. So if we decide that we are not working with secular guys, then let's not be on YouTube.
Let's not be on TV.
Let's not be on TV. It's a secular platform.
Okay.
Let's not be on any podcast because it was created by someone who doesn't have the same beliefs as us. So for me, if I find a secular...
Is anybody listening to what he's talking about? Okay.
Let's not even drive a Toyota.
Wow.
Because it was created maybe by a Buddhist or a Shintoist or someone who's not Christian.
So in other words, we are in the world, but we are not of the world.
Of the world.
But it does not make us live apart.
Yes.
Okay.
So the person building your house might not be Christian. But you still pray for that house and say, this is my house. And God lives here. So, case in point is we can have a secular guy playing for me. I'll pray for them. I'll make them understand why and what we're doing and what we're going for. Once they have that understanding and they are not fighting with me to achieve that goal.
You know what you're saying is like I think people, we pick and choose what we want to work for us, and
Exactly.
because I'm just, what comes into mind is, for instance, if we're talking of food or takeaways,
Yes.
most restaurants, especially where we are in the UK, they will put on the window to say this is halal meat,
Yes.
but we still gladly go in there
Exactly. And buy it.
because we believe that when we buy the food and we pray over the food, uh, it's taking my form. So
Yeah, yeah.
okay, all right.
So I think we have decided what is holy and what is clean and unclean when it's convenient for us.
But of course, there are some extremes, isn't it?
Of course.
Okay.
But most of us right now might be wearing a perfume created by a gay person.
Wow, wow. Wow.
And we wear it every day.
And
We walk around.
We don't
with it.
even think about
We don't
it.
think about it. That when they were creating that perfume, what was in their minds? But because we want to smell good, we don't wait to think about who is this person who created this perfume. Do we? No. So for us, it's only when we want to point fingers at someone and say, did you see Pastor Sam had a secular guy, had Richard Branson on his podcast when he's a man of God? Because it's convenient for me to point fingers.
But what you're saying, would this not then justify, quote unquote, some people or some churches that are then going to secular artists, and bring them on a church platform and say, well, it's okay.
Well, that is different.
How is that different?
The difference now is everything has a place.
Are you a preacher? Oh. I like the way you play with your words, man.
Everything is a place.
Wow.
Like you can't take your kitchen and put it in the toilet. Both are important.
But in different spaces.
In different spaces. When I got married, I had Trevor Dongo come to sing at my wedding.
Okay.
But I don't take Trevor Dongo to come and sing his love songs in church because it's not the place.
Oh, wow.
So everything has a place.
Yeah.
If we understand that there are secular places that need secular things, and then there are holy places that we can't take certain things into.
I got you.
So even the secular artists, even when you invite them, they are not even sure what to do in that space.
Yeah. They're not even as comfortable.
Because
They're
they
confused
know
to say, why am I here?
they know that my content is not supposed to be here.
Yeah. That's true.
So they're now cracking their head thinking, so what do I do when I get there?
Yeah. They want the money, but they're also confused.
Confused, why am I here?
Yeah.
Because for me, I did a song with Gemma and Natio. And why I did a song with them.
So Gemma and Natio,
they're secular artists,
okay.
Yes. But one of the things that I love about those two is the quality of conversations I have with the two. That is even better than some of the conversations that I have with some of my gospel artists.
Okay.
They don't spend their time.
So how that song, how was it received? Was it your song, their song? Is it a Christian song? Is it a secular song?
It's a Christian song.
Okay.
Yes, it was something that I composed. But one of the things that I'm very intentional about is making sure that when I produce a song, I want a song that goes on radio, that does well on YouTube and some of these platforms. And you can't go on a pop platform with your worship song and expect it to do well.
Okay.
There is a certain sound that they're expecting. And if you craft your message biblically well, but put it in a pop format, you'll be able to fit into a radio format that most gospel music cannot. And that's one of the things that we needed to learn. So for me, when I get with some of these artists, I'm picking their brain. I'm learning what is it they're doing that's different besides the controversy. Because most of the artists that I have, they are not centered on controversies. They're doing well musically, and most of their content, if not all of their content, is very positive. So I want to understand what are they doing right? What can I learn from this? At the same time, what can I impart into their life? Like for Gemma, I've seen that she's intentionally doing gospel music continuously.
Okay.
So I saw that there's a seed there that someone needs to water.
Oh, yes.
Because that was me.
Okay.
I was a secular artist who was struggling to keep doing secular music.
So you've got a better understanding of where they are and where where they can potentially be.
Yes.
Yeah, and you need to be that person that. So, talk to me about worship music.
Yes.
What is your expectation of worship music? What do you expect to get out of it when we talk about worship music? Maybe should there be a certain sound attached to it? I'll tell you where I'm going with this. Does worship music always have got to be slow music? And if so, who defined that? Who said worship music should be slow music? And if it's so, who defined it? And two, what are the parameters of that type of a sound? Because if I am, for instance, white or British or European or whatever you want to call it, there is a culture of music that is relevant.
Yes.
Can a person who loves heavy metal or rock, can they use that for worship? Can a person who is in Jamaica, who's used to reggae or raga, whatever we want to call it, can they use that for worship? Can a person who is right there in the deep somewhere in the village of Congo or Zimbabwe, for instance, can they use
Sungura,
mbira or mbira or sungura and say
And the jit.
You know what I'm trying to say? And
jit for Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I hear it. The difference between music genres is origin. Origin is very important.
Exactly.
Because there is what we call sensual music that appeals to your soul, that make you want to be touchy-feely. Some of that music has no place in gospel music because of the way it takes over your senses. Take GT for instance. It's music plugged out of a place where I grew up, Kumusha. So in August, we'll be doing what we call beating graves.
Okay.
And this is where GT will be played.
All right.
There will be these guys beating drums and everyone is dancing. The content of almost all the songs are vulgar.
Oh, right.
And the dances, same thing.
Okay.
So the problem with culture is it's in you without even knowing. So some of these songs, even if I take a GT song and I put gospel lyrics to, it still drives that person who has been exposed to a GT in Mureo to want to shake their behind, because it invokes a certain feeling in them. So in my my coolness or wanting to be cool, I need to understand the origin of every genre. Heavy metal, same thing. Heavy metal draws on rage and anger. It's an angry genre.
Okay.
So if you got you feel that aggression.
Yeah.
So even if I put nice lyrics in there, the music is not about lyrics, it's about heavy metal. So if I take that, put it in the church, I am not going to get the desired results. So as a culture and as a community, a Christian community, we have, in time, we have started to realize sounds, and because music is a science, there are also genres that make it easy for you to awaken your spirit, man, and hear God. That's not a white or a black thing. It's a God thing. So once you find that sound, then we can use that in church. And that's why you find the funny thing that we dance when we praise and we slow it down when we worship. Most of it, it's culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you're a wise man. I like the way you. Wow, and I'm really learning, and it's true that culture has got a lot to do with how we even express ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
We because we are shaped to think
Yeah,
a
yeah,
certain way and all that.
Yeah.
And so, having said that, and I know this one is a hot one as well, where musicians in the church are concerned. What is your take on commercialization and non-commercialization of gospel or maybe of musicians in the church? Some say musicians should be paid. Some says no, they should be loyalty to the house. What's your take?
For me, I always take it back to the Bible. Musicians were not just musicians in the Bible; they were Levites.
Okay.
Where did Levites get their income?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the problem that
From the house.
yes,
From the house. Yeah.
Whatever, the high priest was the one who would get everything and allocate it amongst the Levites, and they were taken care of. The problem now is it takes years for a musician, whether a vocalist or a keyboard player,
to master their art.
So that we can benefit from that. And every Sunday, when a new song comes, that musician has to go and work on that music.
As much as the pastor does.
As much as the pastor does when they
Okay.
come to preach.
Okay.
So that they can give us an excellent worship experience.
So if we go back to the Bible, the ushers and the intercessors, when they're not part of the Levitical tribe.
They were, and they stayed in the church.
Okay.
So we can have like your church. That building needs to be cleaned. The caretaker that cleans the house is a Levite and should be paid by the church. And I'm sure we do. The person that fixes the light bulbs and the windows when they're broken, also a Levite that we need to pay. So it doesn't end there. There are volunteer positions that do not need me to practice.
Okay.
They just need me to
show up
and be a person who's God-fearing. I can come today and join your church and greet people by the door. It's not difficult. I just need to know Christ and dress well
and know what to say.
And know what to say. Pointing someone where to sit is not hard. We do that a lot at home.
Oh, wow.
You don't need to practice for that.
Okay.
But if I tell you that you're preaching on Sunday,
to all ushers and greeters and servers out there, I'm not saying that he is.
yeah, if I tell you that you are preaching on Sunday,
It's, yeah, okay.
that's not
There is preparation.
that's not a small responsibility,
Okay.
because you're now responsible to what the congregation receives that weekend. And it might not be just that weekend. It goes online.
Yeah,
it will
yeah.
speak to thousands or millions
And
online.
generations,
And generations.
potentially,
So
yeah.
it's not something that we take small. Same thing with our musicians. I am telling you, before I got married, one of the elders in the church council where I was, saw me with this girl. She meant well, but she took the girl aside and said, "What are you doing with this guy?"
Oh, wow.
Do you know why? I had no money.
All right. She was trying to save the girl
She was trying to save the girl from the musician
from the musician who's broke,
but who's serving.
who loves God but broke.
Yes, who comes to play at midweek service every day. And then
But nothing
all
to show
night
for
prayer
it.
on Friday. Then Saturday practice
And youth.
and youth. And then Sunday
is in
worship.
church. Yeah.
So the musician is in the church 4 to 5 days a day. Those are shifts.
Wow. Yeah. There's a shift, yeah.
Yeah. So if we don't look at this as a place where we think musicians want to take from us, but from a place where musicians are giving us so much.
All right.
I hear a lot of people talk about allowances. No, we don't want allowances.
Yeah,
We want them to get medical aid
Oh, wow.
so that when their kid gets sick,
Yeah.
they are not worried.
Yeah.
They come and serve at church knowing
That I'm well taken.
I'm well
I'm
taken
on a
care of.
paid job. doing
Exactly.
this. Okay.
So once we do that, we remove the cares from everyday thinking. How am I going to do
Take
this?
care of my business. Okay.
There was a post that I posted which was funny on my page, where I put a guy in those short trousers and lucky socks and my shiny shoes, and everyone said praise and worship. And everyone said these guys don't give
Yeah.
in church.
They sing, but they don't give.
But they don't give.
But at times it's because they don't have
They don't
anything
have.
to give. Wow.
And because they come to stand in front of you, they have to look presentable. They can't come dressed funny because you talk about them.
Oh, wow. So, okay, I get that. What about this commercialization of gospel musicians like yourselves? Because I hear, for instance, and I understand the place of honor and, honoring a gift and things like that. And
Yeah.
I hear that there are musicians that, will not show up unless you give them probably $50,000 or, and I know at times it's because their name is big.
Yes.
Yeah. And some they charge 30. And I know again that they have to take care of, their band and logistics and all that.
Yes.
But you would agree that some of it might be a little bit exaggerated.
Yes and no.
Okay.
My take is this. If I need someone to lead worship, I know 1 million people that can do that. Why do I need that specific one that charges 50,000? It's because they've invested 50,000 worth for you to give them that attention. And you know that if they are showing up at your church will be full because they've invested in their name so much that people will come. I know an artist who put in $13,000, a Zimbabwean artist, in one song.
Wow.
And when they are sowing those $13,000 into that song, there is never a time that this pastor who's complaining that it's exorbitant came and said, this $13,000 bill that you have, can I take half of it? So my take is we want to reap where we did not sow.
So, okay.
I am sure that same $50,000 artist, there are still places that she goes and plays for free and does not give them a bill. Because when she needs to invest to keep this thing going,
They invest in
they invest in them
somehow. Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
For I've done my research. Churches like Hillsong and Elevation, they pay $3,500 to mix and master. So not to record, to mix and master one song. And when you listen to their audio, it's amazing. But that's what they have to part with for a song to get mixed. And then there's recording and rehearsals and equipment and all these things. And I know you kind of understand these things because
I
I'm
do.
looking
I
at
do.
this equipment that we're using.
Yeah.
There's a price to it. And if we ignore the price and just look at what this person is charging, then we're doing them a disservice and just messing up their name for no reason. Doing something at an international level costs money.
It does. Real
And
big money.
It costs big money. So, and making sure that music gets to all those people also costs money. So when we come and say, you should come and sing at my event for free, or for what I think is the right fee, is not fair on their part. Because they've invested in something that you were not a part of, but you want to benefit from. One of the things that I admire at Christ Embassy, what they did is they took care of their musicians in the church so much that it would cost you so much for you to get them out. Most of the church and the body of Christ, they will not invest in their own people.
Wow.
They have just as talented musicians as those 50,000 ones. But when they find 50,000, they go and pay that 50,000 guy and they come and play.
Shoo. Yeah.
And then when they pay that 50,000, it's painful because they know, hey, I just gave this
But
person.
they've got in-house gifts that they are not promoting.
They could have given that 50,000 to that in-house person and grow them to that level. And once they are at that level, they are not going to say, Pastor Sam, if you want me to come and play at the conference, give me money. No, they'll come and do it. Because when they were sowing, you were sowing together so you can reap together. But if you are there at the end to just say, you have reaped your wheat, now give me your wheat for free, I don't think that is fair.
Now I hear you. No, that's very interesting. So, I know time flies. But there is some young men, young women there who's, they want to be in the same place that you are right now. I know it's a journey. I know, there's a lot that is involved. What would you advise to somebody who's watching us today, especially those that are in the gospel music industry?
I think one of the first place is find a good Bible church to serve.
Wow. I like that. Serve.
Yeah, if you...
A place to serve.
Yes.
Okay.
If you look at in the Bible, Samuel goes to stay with Eli and he was serving.
Woo.
And that's the...
Even though he was a prophet at birth, from birth.
From birth, he was hearing God and not even knowing.
Sure.
But he was in that place to serve. The problem with our young people is we are so afraid of being used by people that we miss the opportunity to learn from them.
Come on, preacher. You're preaching good.
Yeah, so we concentrate on self too much and not realize that in that place of service, when I was doing secular music, I was serving because I wasn't getting paid enough, but I knew how to run a band. I knew how to perform before a crowd. I knew how not to do certain things on stage because secular platforms are different from gospel platforms. Gospel platforms, when you mess up, people say amen. Secular platforms, they'll throw cans at you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so most of those places, that's your training ground. Study to show yourself approved, the word says. So your opportunity as a young person is serve as much as possible. Be there, lead worship at church every Sunday if you have to. If you're learning an instrument, learn as many songs as you can. By the time you're 25, you are now a master at your craft. And you can now take it to the next level. And that place of service, it also builds character in you. Because if you ask everyone who has done big things in any industry, consistency always outweighs talent. And consistency is built in a place where you have to show up every day.
Hey, you're teaching good, man. Wow. Wow. I like that. I like because many times we want to be on big platforms and big stages, but you serve your way up.
Exactly. You have to be
Wow.
diligent with the few so that God can give you the many.
The many. Wow.
So if you call me to sing before 5 people,
Yeah.
it is those 5 people that will carry that word and say, the minister that came to minister at my house yesterday.
Wow.
I think we need to find a way to get him to Pastor Sam because I think the church needs to hear him.
Yeah.
And the next thing you're singing for 300.
Oh, yes.
And then Pastor Sam says, you know what? I think 300 is too small. I know a pastor friend of mine. We're a family of churches. We have a church in Los Angeles that has 10,000 people. Let me call him up and say, the next time you're in the US, you go and minister there. You see, it's incremental.
Yeah, exactly.
So every platform.
You know, Bishop Bismarck was one of my great inspiration and mentor. Said one time, I was talking about green room conversations.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard that. He was talking with Dreen and all that, talking about green room conversations, that it's the conversations that are in the green room that can make or break an individual.
Yes.
Because it is in the green room when pastors are sitting that, they can just say, so-and-so, Tembalami, never invite him. It's too costly. It's too, it's too arrogant and all. Or they can say, that young man, he's humble. Take, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's just that diligence to do what you have to do.
Wow.
And there is something about what God gives you that no one can take away from you. I get a lot of young people that call me and say, I want to do a collaboration with you. My first question is why?
Exactly.
Why do you want to collaborate with me?
Wow. That's so powerful.
And most of them, they say, because you have numbers, and then I'm like, that's not a good reason.
That's not a good reason. That's taking advantage of me.
Yeah. What you need is to build people that are loyal to what God has given you.
Wow.
Not taking from someone else, because that cannot last.
Wow.
Diligence, just day, line upon line.
Hey, I love this. So listen, I know you're well traveled and all that. Lastly, I want to hear from you. You've been around the world. You've been different places. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for the industry? What's next for your ministry? Are we expecting something new? And are you diversifying? Or we've been talking, and you've got your own personal studio. What does that look like?
One of the things that is on my heart right now is raising the next generation.
Wow.
There's a young crop of Christians that are coming up now, the teenagers that are there now, some of them I can't connect with them. My sound is different. The things I like are different. But there are also young people in their generation that are supposed to carry this mantle. Because right now I'm in my midlife and I'm now going towards retirement. So maybe in the next 10 years, I will be retiring. But in those 10 years, I need to have so much impact on the generation that's coming.
Yeah.
So if you look at my sound,
Building generationally.
yes, if you look at my sound, I intentionally did young sound music. I'm a piano, all these things.
With the Unveiled.
With the
Which is
Unveiled.
another great
So
team.
I've been mentoring Josh for a couple of years.
Okay.
Since we met at an event before he even came for Old Mutual's Amazing Voices, which then he came on and he did amazing on that with the team and to where they are now. He usually calls me, Mkoma, I'm here. What do I do now? Now I'm the one that actually calls him and says, Mningina, I've seen you're doing this. How can you help?
Learning from each other.
Yeah, exactly. Now he's more of a peer than a mentee because he has grown to that level where I'm now also learning from him. And I think that's where I am now, where I want to try and raise the next generation that I can pour into and also learn from. So those are the platforms. I now have a music studio and we are now setting up a visual one where people can come and record, get a springboard to go to the next level. And also because my ministry is a bit different, like I said, Kumusha, the village, the ghetto, the suburbs, I have people that connect with me in all these different places. So every time I'm looking for a sound that can connect with my people in the village, because I haven't forgotten them. I don't want them to lose Christ. And I need to do something for my Chi-town people. And I need to do something for my suburb people. At the same time, there's also a balance between music for the sanctuary and music that plays on the street. So there are all these dimensions that I need to capture and keep going. So there are songs that I make that are specifically for Sunday worship. And then there are songs that I make specifically for radio. And I've always had that in my ministry.
Oh, wow. Hey, listen, man, thank you so much for coming. This has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And, just to hear where you are and where you're going and the things that God is doing in your life. Listen, we honor you, we celebrate you. We are grateful that God has really sustained you, because if we are talking of longevity in ministry, you're one of the people that we can talk about and say, you have been there for a long time. You've been there for a minute. And I've seen consistency with you. And I think that's one thing that I've liked, ever since you came into the industry, with, I think I might be wrong, but with the song, what's the song that you did with Wellington?
Oh, trading.
Yeah. And the energy has been great, and all that. I was recently at your last show, I think in Seven Arts.
There were Seven Arts.
That was great. The place was packed. It was amazing. So I wanted just to thank you and encourage you to say, hey, we are behind you. Yeah. We look forward to the next 10 more years.
Amen.
Before you retire.
Yes.
And thank you for what you're doing for the next generation.
Amen.
Yeah, it's been great having you, man.
Thank you so much, Pastor Sam, for having me.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. It was great to just have this conversation in the lounge with Pastor Sam.
In the lounge with Pastor Sam.